2 in 2 weeks. Something must be going on. And let me tell you, I've been sitting in my house for the last 20 minutes, and it has been dead silent. Maybe I should say radio silent. That sounds very topical. It has been radio silence. And as soon as I sit down, no jokes, there is a dog barking in the background. It's not our dog. There is a cockatoo cockatooing. Just, it's like they wait for me. They see me put on my crappy headphones and they're like, go. Unleash noise and irritating sounds. But anyway, we will persevere. But we're back 2 weeks, as I say, in a row. Pretty unheard of. But a very eventful couple of days. So Wedge Shred is on the horizon. Wedding is on the horizon. Wedge Shred is well underway. Two related but not identical things. And today, this morning in fact, I went to a personal stylist in David Jones, which for those of you who are not in Australia is just a big department store. 8 floors of varying degrees of crappy, some exciting, some not so exciting products, usually makeup and all that kind of jazz. But anyway, I digress. Personal stylist. So Mano, as you might expect, has lined up some very nice outfits for weddings and things. I haven't seen wedding dress, but I've seen the equivalent of her kind of outfit that she'll be wearing in Scotland the week before Spain. And as is Mano's way, it's kind of very classy looking. It's very understated, but just looks great. And I am like, well, I'll just rock up in my Patagonia t-shirt and some shorts. That's it's kind of going to be in my back garden in Scotland. It's chilled. It doesn't really matter. And it turns out that is not really going to fly. So I, in a moment of panic, looked on David Jones' website and I was like, I just don't know when it comes to snazzy clothes like this. Like, I've got no idea. And it doesn't help when you're, 5'0" and built like a brick shithouse. So finding clothes that are nice is difficult at the best of times. So anyway, booked personal stylist. Flash forward to the night before, and I'm preparing Mano. I'm like, you don't have to come with me if you don't want to. You can come with me. It's absolutely fine. Just kind of do whatever you want. It's 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, so I realise it's not ideal. But she's keen. She wants to come along, and great. So she's coming. My classic response to this kind of stuff is because it involves engaging with people that I've never met before in an area that I'm not particularly comfortable with, i.e. fashion and clothes and stuff. Is to be quite nervous and to be a little bit like, oh god, I don't like this. So I'm a bit nervous, and we get on the ferry, we get on the train, all this stuff, get into town, and we go to David Jones. And the stylist's name is Riri. I looked on all the little bios when I could book my stylist. There's about 17 million people who work in David Jones that can give you styling advice. And Riri fit 2 criteria. 1, her bio mentioned weddings, and 2, she looked the least intimidating in her picture. So I was like, Riri all the way. And I had to submit a little bit of information in a little form to Riri before we get there, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, hey Riri, I am short, squat man looking for trousers. Basically, it's kind of what I'm after trousers. I got blazer, I got shirts, all this kind of stuff. I think I'm pretty sorted. But I need trousers, or I need pants, depending on where your vernacular, depending on which part of the world you're from. And basically my message to her is, I can never find trousers. My legs are fucking enormous, so finding trousers is very difficult. And she's like, no worries, all good. I look forward to meeting you. And so we rock up. It's 9:55. The appointment is at 10. I refer you back to my pre-appointment nerves, and I, of course, am saying to me, no. Like, we can't rock up at 9:55. We have to rock up at 10. We can't, just let's not put any pressure on Riri. She might not be ready yet. Anyway, we find a little room, very nice little room. We go in at 9:55. Of course we do. And Riri is there with one of her colleagues, getting ready, and she's very excited. Lovely woman from Indonesia, it turns out, and she kind of gives us her life story. She's sticking pins in trousers that I'm wearing, but she's very nice. And so And I rock up in a t-shirt and shorts, because of course I do. I brought my stuff. I brought my Arm Williams, my boots, brought my blazer, all this jazz. And the first thing she says to me is, "Oh, do you cycle?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "Oh, look at your legs are very strong. You know, your legs are very big." And I was like, "Okay, great. We're off to a fantastic start here." And so yeah, that's kind of the beginning. And then we give a little bit of background, weddings, etc. And she's like, "Oh, okay, great. You know, I've got some ideas." And she pops out and she comes back in, you know, kind of 5 minutes or so, and she has a bunch of clothes in her arms. Well, in her arms, folded over her arms. You know, it's a very high end to do this. She's not walking around with crumpled clothes, and they're all white. And I'm just like, oh my god, because again, knowing nothing about clothing and being very crap buying clothing, I would not go near white, right? Like, the few Google searches I've done on clothes for the shorter man, shall we say, I should say the shorter, broader man, is to wear, you know, darker colours, your navies, your kind of blacks, etc., to not be accentuating things you don't want to be accentuating. Anyway, needless to say, she comes in with, you know, a deckhand outfit, bright white, head to toe. Minnow and I both kind of look at each other and we're like, oh my god. But open-minded. I don't know anything about this stuff, Riri. I've put my faith in your hands. And so I go into the booth. And I put them on, and it come out, and I'm definitely still skeptical. Effectively feel like I'm wearing just like a white jumpsuit or something, like an astronaut. But then she starts doing her thing, right? Riri starts doing her like her little tweaks on the sleeves and like her little stuff on the back and all this kind of jazz. And it's hilarious because I'm sitting looking at Minot while she's looking at me get this stuff done. And her face goes from initially being like, absolutely not, when I walk out in my white jumpsuit, to, you know, okay, no, okay, yeah, I get it. And until eventually once Riri's kind of done her thing and she steps back and she's got the blazer and everything and it's all put together, and it's like, yeah, okay, we can do this, works. And so that's one outfit done. We're fine with that, we're good with that. White. Who would have thunk white? But there we are. So then we're on to number two. You know, Riri smells blood. She sees that we're into what she's putting down, and so she's like, oh, you know, let's think of a couple of other options as well. You know, do you have a suit? I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I have a suit, but as I've mentioned, you know, it's hard to find suits that fit off the rack, which is the lingo that I'm learning. And so she's like, oh, don't worry, I'll go you a nice dark French navy. That's how she refers to a French navy. So off Riri pops to get a series of French navy suits. And we go through the same palaver, so to speak, but I try on three different suits. And the first one is the winner. Again, it's does it pass the Minot test? Does it fit my thighs, first and foremost? Does it pass the Minot test, second? Bang. Right, with two very important criteria achieved. So, French Navy suit sorted. And then it's only after Riri goes up for the third time, because she's, you know, kind of doing her thing, and she's in the flow. She's picking up little bits and pieces here and there. But she goes a third time, and it's only then when I start looking at the price of some of the stuff. And, you know, I'd budgeted like, I don't know, 1,000 Aussie dollars. I don't know the exchange rate off the top of my head, but for anyone listening in the UK, just cut it in half, pretty much, or maybe £600. That was kind of my budget. I put that aside. I thought that was a reasonable amount. And you know, it comes out at about 3.5 times the amount that I budgeted. Which, you know, is kind of all part of the game, I guess. But yeah, we make it through, survive, and we're in town anyway. Personal shopping done, personal styling done, whatever it's called. And Minot and I go for lunch. and it's and it's hilarious because Manager says to me, this is such a classic you thing to do where you're nervy about it and you're all kind of on edge about it, and then as soon as you've done it, you're like, right, so when can we do that again? Because no joke, afterward I was like, right, okay, well, you have to pay for the styling. Like, obviously the clothes are expensive, fine, but the styling thing is free. Like, if someone wants to give me advice and just do all the work for me, then I might just do all my shopping like this. And I don't shop very often, as I said. All I wear is Patagonia t-shirts and shorts these days. But I'm now just thinking of the briefs that I can send. And when I say brief, I don't mean underwear, so calm down. The description, the remit that I can send to Riri, who obviously now, we are best mates and she's in my phone book. Email address all sorted and everything. Riri, turtleneck, sort me out, hook me up. So that was personal shopping. I thought it was worth a second update in 2 weeks for the personal shopping. So that's personal shopping. Very exciting new chapter of development in my life that I will definitely continue to utilise, I feel. The second update that I wanted to provide was... So I listened to a whole bunch of podcasts. I've spent far too many hours of my life and far too much brain space consuming the kind of, like self-improvement stuff or whatever, all these books that are non-fiction, they're like, how productive are you, and all this kind of stuff. And I used to love them. Our bookshelf is full of them, and I, to be honest, can't stand them anymore because I overthink it all, and it just irritates me, and I look at this bookshelf of stuff that I don't read and I feel bad about it. But that said, as part of my job, I read a lot of stuff about different industries and like different trends and things like this. And so part of what I do working in strategy and in operations, more on the operations side, is around how you can do things better, right? Like how a business can run a bit more smoothly, where there are kind of opportunities for it to improve. And so being a bit of a nerd and being a bit of an overthinker, as I say, I kind of often think about ways that I can apply this to my own life. And so one of the things I've kind of stumbled upon recently, because I want to get better at storytelling, which I realize is a really wanky term, but I'm a very factual, kind of analytical person, as you may well know. I like to just kind of stick to what the truth is and kind of stick to the facts. But in so doing, a lot of what I say, and it's probably why I've only done 8.5 episodes of the podcast, is pretty dry. So I'm trying to think about ways in which I can get better at storytelling. Anyway, so I'm doing some research around storytelling and around kind of how you craft narratives and all this sort of stuff. And there's a whole bunch of things. But the thing that I kind of want to mention that I find really interesting, because I think it's sort of a nice way in for someone that's a bit more, as I say, analytical, a bit more introspective, not as gregarious is probably the wrong word. Not, I guess, talkative, right? Like you're not as chatty. But there's this thing called Homework for Life, which again, don't switch off at the title. It's a wanky title, I get it. But the main thing is it's kind of like journaling to a degree, but instead of, I've always been someone who's tried to journal in the past, and I find it really difficult because I'll set myself these ridiculous things of, if you don't write a page a day, then what's the point? Or, if just set myself up to fail. But I like writing and I do enjoy it, so I need to try and get back into it. And the thing that's good about Homework for Life is basically it's, you try and, while you go through the day, you try and capture these moments that maybe catch your attention, or maybe make you feel a certain type of way, or you kind of look at it and you find yourself thinking about as interesting or as kind of surprising, and what you do is you just make a little note of it, and it doesn't have to be much. Our friend Joe, of Alex and Joe and Jackson, of course, and Chief, shout out Chief, who recently moved back to the US. Joe was great at journaling. Joe journaled, not every day, but as in if he missed days, he would catch up. And so he'd have notebooks or diaries, full of writing, and it wasn't like long, flowy prose. It was kind of little sound bites and snippets, and a lot of it just revolved around whether or not he'd surfed and whether or not he caught a good wave. Because whenever Joe surfed, of course he caught a big wave, but it was always a style of journaling that I quite enjoyed, and I massively respect the fact that he was able to be so consistent with it. But this homework for life stuff is pretty similar. It's kind of, instead of thinking you have to write a page, instead of thinking you have to do all this stuff, and these things where it's like, oh, write down stuff that you're grateful for, or write down your highlight of your day. It's more of a if you find yourself out and about, or if you find yourself at work, or you find yourself talking to friends, whatever it might be, and something kind of catches your attention, something someone says, or something that happens just around you, you kind of just bank it, like you just make note of it, and it's really hard, right? If you're not in the discipline of doing that, it's quite tricky, and I've missed days since I've started doing this, but then I kind of go back, I put like 10 minutes in my work calendar, don't tell my bosses, to remind myself to do it sort of at the end of every working day, and just kind of go back through and think about things. But taking this full circle, because I realized I was talking about storytelling, is the idea behind this is that you have these little moments, and these moments become things that you can tell others when they ask you questions like, how are you doing, what you're up to, like anything on for the weekend, like these kind of things. Because instead of, if you think about it, someone asks you that, like, how are you getting on? I realize I said, how are you going? And how are you going sounds normal to me, but that's what people in Australia say. So, like, how are things? A lot of people, or how was your weekend? A lot of people will give you like a really kind of, yeah, it was fine. Or like, yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I didn't do much. Yeah, it was great. Like, and won't really give you much, and that's totally fine. But if you're a weirdo like me that wants to try and get better at storytelling, these are kind of little opportunities in the day where you might get a chance to sort of practice. And as ever, if it's something you're not very good at the start, it feels awful. Like, it feels so forced, and it feels so weird, and you feel like a robot, because you're like, you must do, in my head is like, you must tell this person about this thing that you think is story-worthy, even though they probably think it's ridiculous. But yes, that is homework for life. So I just wanted to drop that in, because I think it's an interesting thing that I'm trying to do at the moment. Third thing that I had to update, and I don't really speak about work because it's boring and no one really wants to hear about work, but I had this really funny moment this week where, so I've been in my new job for 5 months? 5 months, so given my track record, I'm probably not that far off changing jobs. But anyway, I have been pulling together a bunch of stuff. So again, I work in strategy and operations, and I won't bore people with what that means. But one of the things I've been doing for my company is kind of a really deep dive into the UK market. We're an Australian company, but we want to get bigger in the UK. And so I've been doing a bit of analysis into the UK. And the company that I'm with is kind of 11 years old. It's been around for a while, but it's still, I'd say it's only really kind of started scaling and getting really big in the last few years, since it's got a lot of investment. And I had always kind of assumed that a lot of the work that I'm doing at the moment had already been done, but that's a conversation for another day. But the thing that happened was one of the co-founders sends me a message on Thursday, whenever it was, and I've never spoken to the guy. I've emailed him and kind of used Slack and instant message and stuff with him, but I've never actually spoken to him face to face. And so he sends me a message saying, "Oh, you got 20 minutes this afternoon? Yeah, just want to have a chat." So my instant reaction is, shit! Like, I'm going to be getting in trouble for something. Surely this can't be good. This kind of thing is never good. And so it comes time for the chat, and I jump into the virtual meeting room because my role is fully remote. And there is the co-founder, and he's like, "Oh, hey mate," and he's pretty chill. He's pretty kind of laid back guy, and he's like, "Oh, hey mate, how you going? Blah blah blah. Is this the first time we've ever spoken?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the first time we've ever spoken face to face. Like, I've been in and around for kind of 5 months, but it's the first time we've ever spoken face to face." And he was like, oh, no, oh, you've been here for a while, I'm sorry. And I say, oh, that wasn't supposed to be a dig, like I was just saying. And so off to a rocky start. But he goes, look, no, I just wanted to say some of the analysis stuff that you've been doing, and strip it right back. It's a spreadsheet, right? And it's not, for people who know spreadsheets, it's not even, it's like level 1 basic. There's a little bit of conditional formatting in there, you know. So if you know your spreadsheets, you know that is, like, we're talking 101 stuff here. This is not big guns. And he's like, mate, this piece of work, unreal. Like, we've never had anything like this. This is a fantastic, excellent thing. And I'm just like, oh, okay, good. So I'm not getting canned. That's a bonus. And I come off the call, and I'm like, okay, well, that's good. You know, that's better than I thought it was going to be. But it's just one of those moments where I realised I was like, what am I doing? Like, what do we do? What did most of the working world do, where we just sit and spend hours of our time moving, like, little digital bits into a different format for other people that are slightly older than us and have been moving digital bits for longer than us, to say, good job moving those digital bits. Like, what am I doing? And this, no doubt, is the reason why I change job every 2 years. But I just wanted to, flag it. It was just this weird moment where I was just like, oh goodness, this is what so many people are doing, and surely there are better ways to be spending your time. But I think that's a long term down the line, working for yourself at some point kind of thing. Although, to be fair, then Minot will have to tell me that my spreadsheets are good, and I don't think that'll ever happen, so maybe I should count my blessings. So that was, excellent spreadsheet, mate, well done. And then the final update. So the final, and potentially one of the biggest, I suppose, is Travis Kelce's girlfriend is coming Sydney town in just under a week. Apparently she is some sort of musician, and we are going to go see her on the Friday, which is very exciting. 3.5 hours. It's like 712 songs or something. And the countdown is on. We have, and I say we, Minot has accumulated sunglasses shaped like love hearts. We have wristbands with the names of various songs and albums, and Minot has an outfit. She's bought an outfit. So some of us are more ready than others, but it's happening on Friday. My mind is more kind of turning to, how do you spend 3.5 hours? Like, what's the food situation? How am I, like, it's more of a survival. It's a game of survival. So that's Friday. So in all likelihood, the next time I do one of these will be after that event. Big Friday night spent with Miss Swift, the future Mrs. Kelce, who knows. But that's me. I wanted to hope you enjoy that. Riri and white jumpsuits and the lark. I will let you know how next weekend goes.